Okay, sorry this is so dark. Here we go. Try to keep it smooth. Here we go. Email, I'll keep all the identifying stuff private. Hey Kurt, lately I've been feeling the subject of this is, if you have a moment, could you offer me some advice? Hey Kurt, lately I've been feeling out of sorts, so much so that I've started to have trouble falling asleep. I was hoping if you have some time you could offer me some advice. I've actually typed and retyped this email a half dozen times. This time I'm just going to let everything flow out, so please forgive me if things get a little garbled. By the way, I'm sorry to be so late in getting back to you. Here comes kids, I don't want to film them. I'll start by getting straight to the point. I have a social anxiety disorder, and it is extremely impacting my life. I've seen your advice videos for young men, so I know what you think of me when I say that I'm a 24-year-old guy who lives at home. So those of you who don't know, aren't familiar with my position on this, I basically, it's not a hard and fast rule in my book, but I encourage young people, especially young men, to get out on their own. It's kind of an old-fashioned value, but I think it serves a good utility in terms of fostering independence and helping to serve as the motivating factor and the impetus to take control of one's life and to create a foundation and a life foundation on which other elements of life can grow and also help to develop self-esteem. Now it's true it's fraught with dangers and difficulty, and you may fail on, and I'm not guaranteeing success in any regard, but oftentimes those failures are likely the real benefit in fact. And I certainly wouldn't encourage this in a situation where, for example, you as a young man or a young woman were the sole breadwinner for your family and providing for others. And hey, no, that's really the key point here is to take on the responsibility and the role of an adult and becoming what I call the man or the woman of the house. If there are able-bodied parents or guardians that can take care of themselves, then they don't need that. But if you're the only one that can do that, then so be it. And I would recommend that as well. You're basically serving the same function in that capacity. So that's the key point there. So I'm a 24-year-old guy who lives at home. So that's not the worst of it. I don't have a driver's license and my job isn't very steady. I won't say what he is. Maybe blaming this on social anxiety is an excuse, but when I go to make a phone call and my heart starts beating like I'm watching a tense moment in a scary movie, I can't help but think it's making life harder than it should be. Well, I mean, there's no question of it. These feelings that you have are a reality. Remember, these things I'm saying are all from a guy on the street walking down the street with an iPhone. I'm no professional. There's no degrees behind me up there, so this is just take it from like we're sitting in a bar or walking along from the street across the world. That's all it is. So, but from that perspective, I mean, what you feel is real. I mean, the anxiety that you're feeling, whatever it is, clinically diagnosed or simply something that is inherent to your life experience, it's real. And I would certainly not deny that. I know going to the doctor and getting medication for this will be a logical piece of advice, but this is a lot harder than it sounds. Forget actually going to the doctor. I have to talk to my parents about this first. This is a very scary proposition for me. I find it hard talking about my weekend plans. Sorry, I'm reading and walking at the same time. I don't want to fall off the bridge. I find it hard talking about my weekend plans with them, and I have a bad notion that they will feel let down by all of this. Interesting. Wow. As a parent myself, I don't know. I can't speak for your parents, but as a parent myself, if my child came to me and told me about something like this, I would feel nothing but concern and a desire to try and find a way to help them. So I'm sorry if that's not the case in your situation. It makes me wonder if you've misapprehended the situation, perhaps. But you probably know your parents better than I. I'm sure, of course you do. Then in which case, then you have to do it on your own. I don't know, Kurt. My life is in shambles, and I'm starting to feel like I'm nearing rock bottom. I know you're a busy person and got things to do, but if you have a few moments, could you offer me some advice? If not, no worries. I appreciate all the advice you've indirectly offered to me through your videos already. And he signs his name. Okay. Well, we've got a situation here where you understand the anxiety and you understand what you want to be. It's a matter of of first finding out if it's something that you can actually address on your own, and that is going, and then moving from there. And the best way to do that is to get some professional advice. And if that requires talking to your parents first, then the first step towards a life of courage and independence, and therefore I hope joy, is to confront the fear that you have of talking to your folks. Let them know what's going on. Well, you actually, hold on a second. You're 26 years old. You're beyond that. You can go to the doctor yourself. You don't need to tell them. I mean, you sound like a reasonable, thinking, and capable young adult. Just make the appointment yourself. Go in. Here's what I did. When I was, a long time ago, I was feeling horrible depression in my mid-20s. Now, it's not what you were feeling, anxiety. I mean, just the kind of depression that was just like carrying around a giant, my dad used to call a sack of potatoes. It's like having 5 sacks of potatoes just weighing. It was more than that, because a sack of potatoes is just a burden. This was like a smothering blanket of sadness. And I'm sorry you guys have to look at all my sweat. I have a sweat towel. Smothering blanket of sadness that was like a wet black towel that hung over me, and I had little eye holes, and I could see the world out there and all that was happening, but my sensation was that I had this dark weight, this dark, uncomfortable, you know how it would be if you had a wet blanket over you? You're uncomfortable. That was on me all the time. It was terrible. I mean, that was the time. Oh, hi, little worm. You don't want to be here. There's no way you're going to survive here if you stay there. Now, see, this is a case where this little fella can't do anything much for itself out here. So I'm going to intervene and hop up here. Over there would be good. Whoops. So let's try not to fall down this thing. I'll put you up in the green up here. I'm not slipping and falling. And I can't really get you in there, but I'll have to just kind of throw you in. There you go. And then coming down carefully. So I had that darkness, that depression. Now I was in my, I was a little older than you. I mean, a lot older than you. I was 10 years older than you, in my mid-30s actually, early 30s, early 30s, 32 or so. And so I went in. I didn't know what to do. I went in and saw I made an appointment with my MD. I was embarrassed to say, I'm going to ring up and say, hi, ring, ring, get a kid on the phone here. Ring, 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 ring. I couldn't do this. Ring, ring, hello. Yeah, so my name is Kurt Bell. I'd like to make an appointment to talk to the doctor because I feel like crap and I'm afraid I might kill myself. Can't do that, right? So I called him up and said, ring, ring, ring. Hi, I'd like to make an appointment for a general checkup, a physical. I got in there. I don't know how it is in your country, but in the United States, here in Japan, it's not so easy because you get in there and the nurse is in there and the doctor's in there. You're not so private. But in the States, you get in there, you're all alone with the doctor. And I kind of like, doctor, I'm depressed. Life is just, I can't get this weight off of me. And he was a great doctor. And he asked me a lot of questions, and he referred me to another doctor who was a specialist in diagnosing depression and working from there, and who in turn referred me to another doctor and then a counselor. And in the process, I was prescribed medication, which really worked. It really did. It really worked. That depression medication worked, but it had other side effects that I didn't want. It kind of took the edge off of life. It kind of made me all this kind of like into one. It dulled the edge of life as well as took away the depression. So I got off that medication, and I struggled then and I had the counselor, and that didn't help too much either, but she tried. Anyway, the thing is, I struggled then for some decades, but it did help a lot. It did help having somebody to go to talk to. And eventually, it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I finally got things under control, and that was through, and no one likes to hear this, but it was through diet and exercise, basically brought things back under control. And now I'm a happy guy, and I'm in good shape. I mean, look at me. I'm getting good shape, man. I'm stronger and better capable than I was when I was at any point in my life. I could beat the crap out of my 22-year-old self now. I could outrun him. I could outdo anything. That guy. That guy was a puss compared to me now. So that was what diet and exercise did to me. It's as simple as that. And the depression thing of the past, emotional mood swings, forget that stuff. Antisociability, a little bit. Sometimes I just want to be alone. but that's something different. So I would certainly say, and I'm going to add that at the end to look into that. But let's get back to the point. You can do the same thing. Call up your doctor. Tell your mom if you need to tell your mom and dad. You don't need to tell them anything. I mean, we live under the house. You have to tell them something. Let's see. I want to see the doctor. Just get a general. I'm getting up there, Mom. 26 years old or whatever it was, and you need to get a physical. Go and see the doctor. Lay it on the line. See what happens. Go from there. So let's come back to the other. Come back to the last point there about the physical stuff. If you're not already familiar with my recommendations about diet and exercise, please have a look on the LylesBrother channel or my blog. Yeah, the softypapa.something, softypapa.org, I think it is. My blog, there's a section over there for healthy living, and I lay out my exercise stuff. Get on to MyFitnessPal, become my friend there, and you can see actually every day exactly what I'm eating, and you can get a key off of what I'm doing to stay fit and how much I'm exercising, and try doing the same maybe. So I never try to model myself for anybody, but hey, it works for me. I mean, we're biologically almost identical, you know, in all the facts that matter. So give it a try. So now let's come back to the final point, and to me the most important part, right? What you do from this point forward is very, what the heck? I've never been scared by a pigeon so much. What you do from this point forward is going to be critical to the rest of your life. That's because you're on a timer right now. I'm going to jump down in this riverbed. Let's jump down here. You're on a timer right now. And what the timer is, from about the age mid-20s where you are right now to about 30, maybe 35 at the outermost, is going to set the precedent for the rest of your life. The way that you live your life in the next decade will largely determine the character and capacity for the rest of capacity of what you can do for the rest of your life. If you choose to continue to be what might be considered kind of just coasting, I hope I don't insult you with that word, but for whatever reason you're staying home like this, if it's for no better reason than it's comfortable and simple, you'll probably be in that kind of capacity for the rest of your life. It sounds like you don't want to be that way. So now is the time to take the chances. What do you have to lose, really? I mean, especially a little later when you have a wife and a kid. Goodness gracious, that's when it gets tough. It's hard to take risks then. Take risks. Just get out there, break out of the routine. If it means walk home a different way, take an adventure, pick a city, get out a map, throw a dart at it. If your county or wherever you live, throw a dart at it and make an adventure to that city and do something there. Paint a picture, write a poem, make a vlog. Whatever it is, walk up to, well, you can't do this anymore. In my time, I used to be able to walk up to women and strike up conversations with them if you want. You can get arrested now or something like that. But go to a social event, strike up a conversation with strangers. Join Toastmasters. Oh, Toastmasters is one of the great resources that so many people could benefit from. Join Toastmasters and prepare to make a speech of your life in front of them and become a social butterfly, so to speak. It's a skill that you can develop. You may feel like you're shy and you don't have it. You get nervous when the phone rings, but you can get over that stuff, especially now. Now's the time you can do it. You're kind of on the laxing edge. If you don't start now, it's going to get harder every single year. Do it now. Send me a message. I'll encourage you along the way. Connect with me on Facebook, Kurt Bell. I'm the guy with the hat. And connect with me there and let me know how things are going, and I'll be your cheerleader. Yoo-hoo-hoo, go, go, go. But if you don't do it, well, you'll get what you want out of the way. You'll get what you try for out of the way. And I don't know what you think about the life, the universe, and everything. But for me, if you don't exercise courage this one opportunity, you may never have a second chance. I don't think you will have a second chance. You'll be bones at the bottom of the sea and recycled dust for future ages. And your memory will be swept away with the coming generations. The darkness will come over you, and that'll be all. So I hope you can find a way to enjoy and thrive in the light while you can. Look at me on a sweaty mess. I hope that you get out there and get to be a sweaty mess. Get a little injured, get a little broken, get a little busted, get a little life. You really don't have that much to lose. Okay, good luck. Let me know. See you later, bud. fact. And I certainly wouldn't encourage this in a situation where, for example, you as a young man or a young woman were the sole breadwinner for your family and providing for others. And hey, no, that's really the key point here is to take on the responsibility and the role of an adult and becoming what I call the man or the woman of the house. If there are able-bodied parents or guardian factor and the impetus to take control of one's life and to create a foundation and a life foundation on which other elements of life can grow and also help to develop self-esteem. Now, it's true it's fraught with dangers and difficulty, and you may fail on, and I'm not guaranteeing success in any regard, but oftentimes those failures are likely the real benefit in for me some advice. I've actually typed and retyped this email a half dozen times. This time I'm just going to let everything flow out, so please forgive me if things get a little garbled. By the way, I'm sorry to be so late in getting back to you. Here comes kids, I don't want to film them. I'll start by getting straight to the point. I have a social anxiety disorder, and it is extremely impacting my life. I've seen your advice videos for young men, so I know what you think of me when I... Okay, sorry this is so dark. Here we go, try to keep it smooth. Here we go. Email, I'll keep all the identifying stuff private. Hey Kurt, lately I've been feeling the subject of this is, if you have a moment, could you offer me some advice? Hey Kurt, lately I've been feeling out of sorts, so much so that I've started to have trouble falling asleep. I was hoping if you have some time you could offer that I'm a 24-year-old guy who lives at home. So those of you who don't know aren't familiar with my position on this, I basically, it's not a hard and fast rule in my book, but I encourage young people, especially young men, to get out on their own. It's kind of an old-fashioned value, but I think it serves a good utility in terms of fostering independence and helping to serve as the motivator